いわゆるテンプチャー、温度と、それからリダクションコンディションとか、オキシデンタルコンディション。
I do not think that temperature, reduction condition, nor the oxidation condition are the only factors creating the pots.
Right. 目には見えないだろうが、時間というものが非常に。
Though it is invisible, time is also essential.
The San Francisco Peaks of Arizona are a prominent landmark in the American Southwest. Sitting at the base of these mountains is the city of Flagstaff. This is an area recognized for its enduring cultural and geographical history. An important part of this region's history was formed when Yukio Yamamoto, the master potter of the Banyo Tozan kilns, came here from his pottery in Japan. The Tozan pottery is located on the southeastern side of the main island Honshu, about 80 miles from Kyoto. The first kilns in the area were established in the early 1700s, and they primarily produced a utilitarian chinaware. Around the late 1880s, all the potteries in the Tozan area stopped production, and it wasn't until 1954, when Yukio Yamamoto built his kilns in Himeji, Japan, that the Tozan area regained its stature.
I'll never forget the first time I saw Yukio Yamamoto. He came to Northern Arizona University in Flagstaff and looked up at the mountain and the trees and said, just like Japan.
一番最初アメリカで展覧会をやるという約束で招待を受けたんですが、展覧会
I was invited to the United States primarily for an exhibition. Yet I was not fully satisfied with merely having an exhibition. The space and the trees were abundant in the U.S., but there was no genuine Noborigama. Therefore, I started thinking about building one. The number of ceramicists in the U.S. has been rapidly increasing. Perhaps this population is several times greater than in Japan. For these reasons, I wanted not only to have an exhibition, but also make a contribution to the development and depth of American ceramics.
Try this one. Look at here.
This one's too big.
Joel. Once the backhoe had finished, we moved in picks and shovels and mallets and stompers, tampers, made out of logs with sticks tied to them, nailed to them, and sort of flattened our way up the hill. They'd cut the bottom tier below grade and then piled the excess dirt, the dirt from that, up toward the top to make the grade steep. So the further down we were, the harder the dirt was, the bigger the rocks were because we were further into the ground. There was a lot of digging to do. Well, we flattened out what was essentially clay with a lot of rocks embedded in it, rocks and roots, and then used a fine yellow clay that had come out of the excavation It was right there. And sifted it first, then not just through quarter-inch screen. Put about an inch of that down and then tamped that and got it really flat. It made a nice, good surface, like clay, like an adobe or something, dry adobe. And all that was needed on top of that was a single course of brick. It was a good solid floor. As long as water could never get into it, it was good.
But the arrival of the bricks, tremendous. Frustration ends, tamping's over. We can actually, in most of our minds, get started on the real construction of the kiln. We've been waiting, I believe, weeks for these bricks to arrive. I don't remember now if we got the old yellow truck or we got an NAU truck to bring the first load over, but they arrive. You know, we get 4 or 5 pallets of bricks and we get them off, hand load them in a chain, this human chain. We got these bricks cranking off that truck and we're ready to roll. Then it slows down a little bit with Yukio needing to lay such a, what I thought, a perfect floor, a perfect foundation for the rest of his kiln.
Yeah, we bring children to ASU and everything disappears. Go home for the summer. At least the cosmo did disappear. Hey, Matthew? Looks good.
Very big kiln.
Yes.
Oh, nice, very nice. Thank you, Howard. Very nice. Yeah,
All right.
very nice.
Oh, those will work so much better. Give them a whack with that.
Ooh, this easy.
Yeah.
Do it. Nice, thank you. This magic is incredible.
Yeah.
Nice, yeah, this one.
Tape, man. Tape. Dave will work on it.
Ifuku means one puff of a cigarette. To break. Chance to get away from the kill, from the work that we were so close to we couldn't see the mistakes we were making. A chance to tell stories and sit under the tree and drink tea, hang out, reflect.
Torch people.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I wanted a pair for my
When you get
birthday.
old enough, you become a porch person. I don't think you know that.
Porch, I don't know how can you...
You just sit down all the time. Sit down in a rocking chair.
Veranda.
Veranda. Rock all day long. Especially if you're a...
Are rocking chairs European?
Rocking chair. Japan rocking chair. Yes, rocking chair.
I see they got them in Japan too. Yeah.
Japan rocking chair.
I thought they always sat on the floor.
There's a Japanese rocking chair.
What is it?
Rocking chair.
That's great. That makes sense. Yeah, all this stuff makes sense. Drives you up the wall.
Ipuku really seemed to me to be a definite part of the work rhythm that Yukio tried to maintain for us. We worked slow but steadily, and the Ipuku gave us a chance to reflect upon the work that we did. We would, after our stories were told, we would sit back and naturally our eyes would be diverted to the kiln and we would just stare at the kiln.
姫路雪を切るのはファーストチャンバーが very high それで非常にそこでいつも困る
The first chamber of my kiln in Himeji has a high ceiling. It sometimes causes trouble. Thus, I designed a lower ceiling for the NAU kiln.
それから雪を切るのは急勾配になっている
My kiln is tilted at a very steep angle, which allows the fire to run through the kiln too fast. Therefore, I decided not to make the NAU kiln as steep.
3番目は、雪を切るのはファーストチャンバーからラストチャンバーまで薪を入れる
Thirdly, each of the chambers of my kiln has a very small space for wood. Because of the nature of the wood here, the NAU kiln had to be built with more room for wood in each chamber. This is because the wood used here is quite different from that of the Japanese pine.
4番目は雪はチムニーを
Fourthly, although my kiln has 2 chimneys, I designed 1 chimney at NAU because I thought it would be very difficult to control a 2-chimney kiln.
The mortar has got more chunks of various kinds of shit.
When we mixed the insulation to cover the kiln, there were 2 coats, and the first coat was about 1/3 straw, 1/3 sand, and 1/3 dirt. And we mixed it with our feet in great big holes that we kind of dug out, mixed it with water and our feet, and just kept mushing it around with our feet until Yukio liked the consistency, and then it was done. Or then we put it on for the first layer, and then the second layer was mixed with much less straw. It was much smoother, and Yukio put that on so that the whole kiln ended up looking really smooth.
This is the dogi room for the Tozan Nobori Gama. Nobori means climbing and Gama means kill. The uniqueness of the Tozan kills are the dogi rooms. And come on down here and let's take a look. This is the dogi room. It has two parts. This area down here is the grate system. This area up here is the place where all the pottery is stacked. The grate system's really simple. It's just a series of bricks that go from wall to wall and are stacked in this fashion with a 1-inch space or so between them. The pottery then is stacked all the way to the ceiling with spaces in between them so the flames can move and flow and go through these holes into the first chamber. This wall is also unique. It's designed so it can come down and be replaced when it becomes damaged by too long firings. The primary air system is out here. These 8 air intakes are controlled by simply moving these bricks in and out, or they could be moved entirely out. They're used to control the atmosphere of the kill as the kill is firing. Now let me take you up to the first chamber. This is the first chamber. The area I'm standing on is where the pottery is stacked. It's stacked right to the ceiling and is again arranged so the flames can flow between and around and even underneath the pots. The area I'm in right now is the firebox. The flames come through the dogi room, through these holes, through some grates, around the pottery like this, and down through another set of flues. And the same thing happens to the next chamber. And it continues until it gets out the chimney. The grate system is very simple. It's just a series of bricks that fit across here. Now what happens is after we're done firing from the dogi room, then we throw wood in from this hole here and another hole exactly like it built into the door. The wood falls on this grate system, burns, goes through the pottery into the next chamber. This little hole up here is a auxiliary flue hole, and there's 2 more in the arch, one here and one here, and another one in the door over here. All of those are manipulated and controlled during the firing. Every chamber is exactly the same except for the last chamber. The last chamber is called a smoke room, and I'll take you up there and show you what that thing does. This is the smoke chamber. This is the entrance for the smoke chamber right here. A few pots can be placed in there, but it's a very low fire chamber, probably 06. The real use of this chamber is to restrict the flow and cut the sparks down, and it works very well. The smoke chamber then goes directly into the last part of the kill, which is the flue, and right here is the damper. It's connected to right next to the chimney. It's adjusted very easily by taking some bricks off and moving it either up or down. In addition to the main damper, we have 3 air dampers located at the bottom of the chimney. Whenever we need to stop the flow of the flame, we simply pull one of these out, or we may pull them all out. Then there's an emergency damper located on the top of the chimney. This damper is a kill shell that we'll put over the top of the chimney, just in case we have the other damper break and we have to shut the flow of the flame off. Okay, Yukio. Very nice. Okay.
みんな1本ずつでもくべてもらってください。
The stoking technique that Yukio used or employed was actually, I felt, 180 degrees from what I had taught myself. Again, my stoking method was to continually increase and raise temperature as fast as one could to complete a firing. Yukio and the Tozan was to maintain a length of time to expose the pottery and the kiln to a time period of heat. And he achieved this, or he tried to achieve this, by a very firm set of rules that he applied to his stoking. And he would interpret the flame. The flame would be his guide, be his visual guide to how well he was achieving his stoking aims.
Say we take a year and a half.
There were long periods of time between stokes. We're talking about maybe 15, 20 minutes, where I felt we were losing excessive amount of heat, but in reality, the parameters bore out the fact that the kiln was actually either maintaining or actually gaining in temperature through these long extended periods of oxidation.
Now you found the right place to buy it now. Yeah, we're not gonna get no 12 down. No, 5, 10, 50 pounds. Yeah, good stuff. We're gonna find out all the most half the pilots here. We might have to just change our firing temperature. Keep your eye on this now. You didn't plan on to do it. You weren't crossing your pieces.
Yeah, I was talking about putting it too hard.
Oh, you hit my car.
Yeah. On purpose, huh?
He said, well, this bubble.
Red art is like $12.50. $13.
But there's another
He's got some nice red stuff too. Pretty tired right there. Unless I got some other. They broke it. Went around flying.
そしてその時間は焼き物を作るのにも大切だが、人間がいろんな勉強をするに
Time is very important, not only for the firing process, but also for the potter to learn various things. There are so many trials in the firing process, such as a trial of control. Conditions of the process can never be the same. By using the Niboragama, one can learn a great deal about ceramics and at the same time about life, which cannot be experienced when using electric, gas, or oil kilns.
When I helped Dave Frank fire the African Queen when I was a freshman in college, Dave was always talking about rhythm. Got to have rhythm. And we would fire, you know, we'd watch the stack, we'd watch the flame, and we kind of understood it just by the process, by the act of firing. So it was so interesting and revealing to finally, when we had a Japanese firing expert, a master potter and kiln builder there to show us how to fire, to find that he was just as preoccupied with the sense of rhythm, watching the flame, firing, watching the smoke, stoking, keeping that. The stoking was nearly precise.
Good coal.
Yes, good.
Yeah. Yeah. And the father's opening up like okay? All right. Okay. Ah, sounds nice when you hit it. You know, it sounds like you're...
One more.
Come on. Come on. Come on, one more. Come on.
It's close, the smoke's orange.
Come on.
This top will break your all tails. I don't know. Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
It's like a paint dropping off it, peeling the top of the bricks.
Must be about this. Don't know. Parts of paper. グリルか。お、カーボン。よきちょっと紙くん。いいです。チリが。
It's like paint peeling. Yeah, but it's no, but it's see what it is it's the old carbon built up in the you think so? The carbon's all burned out of it, and it's just kind of like fibery stuff that was made of. It's not the fiber. It's carbon ash. Flake on the brick. I know. It's carbon ash. Okay.
From the very first
It's
carbon
the soot ash. It's the soot ash. So it's left of after the carbon goes. I wonder why I have it.
Okay, please.
Okay.
Stop.
I need to hit the middle.
These games and warm you up. Get your confidence going.
We got two guys. We got 2 days.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
That one hooked in my glove.
That's
Well, you got the bottom of it.
That's the big thing.
Well, it might do it in a moment. Well, when it did on the top before, it waited.
Somebody's got to go up there and start at that pole.
Now we're going to phase 2.
Stop. Yeah. This fold. All fold this space here. Yeah. そうすると雪は4チャンバーの、スモールブリックテイクアウト、3チャンバーのハーフブリックチand after this, inside 50 this 外側はYes、お願いします。説明
その始末の後は25分。
そうです。15分という。
Okay. After this burns down this time to where the flames are burned down and the black smoke part of the flame is all gone, then we're going to go ahead and shut the opening up to the dogi chamber and try to get the amount of air of what you can see as 2 of the ends of the bricks. We'll get about that amount of area as airspace for the oxygen going in, and this will all be shut up. And then about 20 minutes afterward, Yukio is going to go to the 4th chamber and adjust the bricks there, and the 3rd chamber and adjust the bricks there. And after 20 minutes of waiting, after the bottom has been closed up, then we'll start stoking.
もし今これを蓋しますと、全てのカラーがもうダメになる。
If we close this up now before waiting for it to burn down, then soot will just accumulate all over everything and will not burn because of the lack of oxygen. Even though it's hot, without oxygen it won't burn. So it really needs to burn cleanly until all the fuel is spent before it's closed up.
釜を突き出しついて薪を作って8日間焼いてそれは色が出なくなる。
Yeah, so this is just another indication that after all this work, weeks of splitting wood, how many days we've been firing so far, if we didn't do it this way, it would be really yucky results.
それからこれを開けたまま横から掘り込む。 実は開けたまんま横から掘り込むと、今グレーズが溶けておるところへ砂とか、そういうものがかかってきてしまいます。
The glazes are all real runny and real smooth and really glassy right now. So if we closed it up and the soot went all over, it would just soot sticking all over everything, and everything would be black. Just
John Bindle played.
それで今ジスルーム、道着ルームは今からお母さんの役目をするわけです。もう素晴らしいエネルギーを出していって、この道着ルームは進んでいくわけです。
This is a mother about to give birth, and she has gone through her first full cycle and is now ready to go on with it and start letting her children live by themselves. Children being the 4 chambers ahead.
Thank you.
This analogy is very important to Yukio. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, start. Okay, start. 待ってよ。One more, please, Grove.
Oh, you're shooting into the どうないんですか
僕が声かけるわ。
ロバートがいる
いや、僕がいる。Thank you. 中が15本、外20本。OK。おOh, fish!
That's okay. Please stop.
Yes.
Stop. Stop.
John got his baby girl. Huh?
Yeah.
All right. Everything was okay?
Yeah, everything's okay. They're great. It's
When
long.
last night?
Long Sunday. I got 6 pounds.
You'll be back. When last night?
Yeah.
Cold, real hot. Cold, hot is first.
How about that, Rob? Okay, Rob? Okay, Rob, come on back, buddy. Okay, Rob, you got it, Rob. I got it, Rob. Okay, you see, Ken. Rob, you need to stand this way, please. This way. What's your car? What's that? Mother. What's it? Down, everything.
For stoking the sides in the back chambers, we would use 2 bundles of wood or 2 bundles of kindling, and the first bundle would consist of anywhere from 25 to 35 medium-sized pieces of kindling, and you would toss those in very quickly, one at a time, so that the first one would land in the center and the second one would be towards the outside, next one in the center, next one on the outside, till they were all gone. And then after that you would gather up the second bundle, which was very small pieces of kindling, and push it into the stoke hole so that it filled up the hole and plugged it up. And at the same time, the other side of the kiln, they were stoking the same as you, and you would call out to each other that the bundle was in with 20 centimeters left to go, and then you would let that burn out and push it in and call out 10 centimeters left, and then you call out, you push it in and call out flush and let that burn out, and then push it in and say down bundle.
Yeah. That's good.
That's good. I think that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
So I'm doing it the opposite way this time. Put all the fat ends towards you.
Down.
there's a tendency to force the kill into submission, you might say, force it into a particular firing frame and make it hurry or make it get hot in much before it's ready. And what you have to realize is it takes a great deal of time and a great deal of understanding. And the patience you have to have when you're firing is probably the key to the whole thing, because if you don't take the time to just control the kill and watch what's happening, slow it down, speed it up, make it breathe, and use the atmosphere, the changing atmosphere with the kill, you're simply not going to get the results.
しかしアメリカにもその危険なところはあります。その登り窯を焼く。
There is a danger for Americans in firing the Naborigama. The danger lies in the fact that perhaps more than 50% of the ceramicists in this country wonder why it takes 5, 7, or 10 days to fire the pots. Therefore, I am saying that time is important. Producing pots is not the only important outcome. The growth of the human being should also occur during the process. The growth from one firing motivates the next firing. One half of the process is to produce pots, and another is for man to grow. I seldom meet the person who has realized the importance of this thought.
Well, I believe the future firings of the Flagstaff Tozan will be carried out in such a manner as to try to reproduce as close as possible the effects that Yukio has achieved in Japan with his ware. One should expect a very traditional type firing with some very exceptional wood fire effects being achieved in the dogi room in first chamber. Once you pass through first chamber, I think you need to concentrate on beautiful oxidation and reduction glazing, but not necessarily any dramatic wood fire effects will be achieved in the existing chambers. Dogi room in first chamber is where the exceptional ceramic pieces will come out of. I think in order to even evaluate the ware that comes out of the kiln, you're going to need to have an understanding of the Oriental Tozan ceramic approach.
I think when you look at a piece after it's fired and you can see where the flames move across one edge to the other and just relate to how much time was taken to move that flame across there. If he's fired the piece 4 times, which many of them have been fired, you can imagine firing a piece of pottery for almost a month. And he'll just keep firing it until he gets the particular movement of color. I've never seen colors quite like that. They just are very strong and definitely making a statement about themselves. The color is actually the key to many of the pieces. Because a lot of the pieces are somewhat traditional. They look like many pots you've seen before, but the colors are not at all the same. The surface is definitely a quality that can only be gotten by the Tozan.